Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be around the world. Welcome to another office hours here on hosting.com's Agency Success. My name is Nathan Ingram. I'm the agency trainer here, and every Thursday we open the doors. You get to come in and ask whatever you'd like to do. Really glad that you've chosen to be here with us today. It's always a lot of fun, and we always have some fun and challenging, sometimes questions to answer. So again, if you're just joining us in Zoom, you can open up the chat and say hello. Let us know where you're logging in from today. And also, once again, there in the chat is the link to ask an office hours question. So you can get those questions in and we will get to them in the order they were received. So 3 questions in the loop right now. Let's do a little bit a few news items here, and then we'll start with questions. So one of the things that happened this week is in the recent unpleasantness in WordPress, Automattic has they've answered the refiling that we talked about last week in the WP Engine v. Automattic court case, where they have now, of course, this is would be expected for them to say, well, we're opposing all of these new filings that WP Engine has entered, including specifically some of the redacted items that were there from findings. They have a motion to dismiss all 4 of the antitrust claims that WP Engine alleges, as well as the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act claim that was related to the takeover of the ACF plugin. So this is, the lawyers are lawyering and they're doing their thing. Now, one thing that is interesting is that they've asked to push discovery out until March 2026. So that's 3 or 4 months after, maybe 3 months after it was originally scheduled to end, which, this court case is going to go on forever. So we can just expect this to be part of our lives for the next few years. Something else interesting, if you have been following the news, that happened is a blow up at Amazon AWS. I was actually flying to Austin on Monday when the USA East 1 data center for Amazon AWS went down, and they've done a little bit of post-mortem on that. How many of you were affected by the AWS outage on Monday? It impacted many platforms. My daughters were upset because they couldn't play Fortnite. The world will continue. But many services were disrupted, including some airlines. So that we hit a couple of delays as we were trying to get here from here in Austin, Texas, from Birmingham, which is home. And Katie says, unfortunately, Teams and Outlook worked as usual. Yeah, so it's just part of life, right? Now, here's the interesting thing. They've done a little bit of post-mortem on this, and they've discovered that what caused the problem was what's known as a race condition, which means there are 2 different, essentially, bots within the Amazon world that had a timing issue when they were trying to update some records. And the result of this was that they deleted the DNS address for the database tool that Amazon uses on AWS. And so nothing could reach its database, which is, bad. And so it's an interesting thing that even the big boys have trouble with DNS. So if you struggle with DNS, you are not alone. There's a lot of great memes coming out right now from IT type people saying, oh, it can't be the DNS. Oh, yeah, it was the DNS, right? It's always the DNS. It's always DNS, it seems like. So speaking of that, we actually have a live stream coming up, and I believe that is, next week on demystifying DNS. So I'll be talking about that on, is that Tuesday? October 23rd? No, that was updated October 23rd. It is Tuesday, October 28th. So coming up on Tuesday, I'll be talking about DNS as it pertains to those of us doing client work. And so it'll be a lot of fun, just demystifying the alphabet soup of all the things that are DNS. And so if you get confused by DNS, you are not alone. You might even can get a job at Amazon. Uh, so we're going to learn about that. And so the goal here is to spend an hour talking about it with me, ask your questions, and I think you'll leave a lot more confident from that live stream in dealing with DNS. So there you go. Yeah, it was an unfortunate segue into promoting this live stream on Tuesday. But there it is. So we'll be talking about DNS, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Something else to mention here is a new live stream that we just got up here in the last day or so, I believe. The hidden cost of poor client communication and how to fix it. So we're going to have Stephen Neville and Richard O'Brien, both of a product called Bug Herd, and they're going to talk through how to simplify client communication. They have a really interesting tool here that brings kind of visual feedback to various things, and it should be fun. I've not really looked hard at this product yet, but I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about it. So that's coming up on Wednesday, November the 19th. And as always, all of those links, I'm going to drop that link bundle again in the chat. You'll find all of these links here on this link tree at that very first link that I just shared in the chat, upcoming.myagencysuccess.com. That takes you right to this link tree that has all of our upcoming events. So join us for that. And as always, all of our live streams are recorded. The links to go back and watch those replays are there in the link bundle as well. Replays.myagencysuccess.com. And for office hours, it's officehours.myagencysuccess.com. So all those are out there. Those are YouTube playlists, and it takes several days after the live stream for us to get that replay up there, but they will all be published. Okay. One other thing to talk about here is this. How many of you have played with ChatGPT Atlas? So a number of weeks ago, we talked about the Comet browser from Perplexity, and this is ChatGPT's answer. So they've called it Atlas, and it's a browser powered by ChatGPT. And if you have played with the Comet browser from Perplexity at all, this is very, very similar. So is it Mac OS? I don't know. So I'm on a Mac, so it's presenting me with a Mac button. Maybe some of you on a Windows machine or other operating system can verify it works for others. Yeah, so it works just the same basically as the Comet browser does, other than it's powered by ChatGPT. You do need one of the memberships. You have to sign in to use this, I believe, but it works pretty well. I played with it for a few minutes yesterday. The one thing that's going to make this a little more interesting is something we talked about last week, and that is ChatGPT's partnership with a number of marketplaces and websites, like Expedia, for example, like now I've just lost it. Etsy is another one, where they'll actually put the product recommendations right there in the chat, and you can click to buy right there. So you'll be able, my guess is you'll see those product recommendations even coming up right here, and click to buy, and it's just right there in the browser. This is where things are going, folks. Browsers are going to be agentic. Now, there are a lot of warnings about agentic browsers. And honestly, it's for the people who put their passwords in the chat. I mean, come on, right? Don't do that. And it'll be fine. So there you go. It's interesting. If you are a ChatGPT user, I would suggest download it, play with it, see what you think. All right. The amount of foolish things people are doing with AI never end, and they will always continue to increase, and that includes putting in your credentials into the chat so that the agentic browser can log in for you. I mean, just click in there and log in, and you're fine. Anyhow. All right, well, let's get started with our questions then. Now, let me close a few of these. I am juggling everything out of a single screen today, so might be a little slower than normal as I'm swiping around and doing a few things. Again, if you have a question to ask, the link to do so is there in the chat. And we have several questions now, so 7 questions now in the list, and we will begin with Paul. All right, Paul. Okay, Paul says, I'm slow to get started with it, but I finally gave Fluent Snippets a try. Good. I was given a script to add. This is not the actual script. I changed the stuff to make sure I can add it here without causing code to be rejected. Yes. So blah, 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 j.j. It's a script tag, right? So when I added it to Fluent Snippets, I selected the snippet type scripts and activated it, and I get this message. Okay, so don't do that. When you use Fluent Snippets, what you're going to want to do is go here, create a new snippet. Just use, you did script for JavaScript. Maybe that is what you're supposed to do here. And you got the error, please remove style or script tag. Okay, so it assumes, see right there, it assumes that you're using script. So what you would want to do is, that is interesting, Paul. So probably what you'd want to do here, you might be able just to add this as a function, but it wants PHP content. You might be able to use it to do it as content. Let's see if it'll take this. Blah, blah, blah. I bet it'll work this way, Paul. Of course, I just borked it just then. Because it's not a simple, it's not a JavaScript. You are using a script tag to call a JavaScript. So using it, doing it as content should let you do whatever it is you're going to do, like this. Then you can set where you want it to run and so forth. That should work. So you added script and activated it. You got the message. Does this simply mean no? So for many scripts, like you've probably seen, it has an opening and a closing script tag, and then the script in the middle. In this case, this is a script tag that has a source that's calling an external JavaScript. So just using the content piece, that's going to allow you to paste whatever you want. So just put it there. It's not going to matter like that it's not set for script. Just drop it right here, and this should work just fine. That is a little odd, but this, for like a PHP function, it's assuming you're starting with the PHP opening, the PHP opening here. And with scripts, it's like the same way, but this doesn't, you have stuff in the script tag, and there's actually just an empty body. So yeah, use content and you should be fine. Set all the other things correctly. Make sure you set it to where it shows up at the right place, and you should be in good shape. All right. Does that work for you, Paul? All right. Next question is from Beth. All right. Beth Livingston. Are you using Perplexity? I signed up for the Pro free for a year, but I'm getting lost. When I tried logging in, it prompted me to download and install Comet, which I did. When I click on the icon it created, it says Perplexity Comet. It takes me to the Perplexity interface. When I ask a question, it says Comet can do this faster and prompts me to download it again. Interesting. Okay, so probably what's going on is, okay, this is the part where I can't show you my screen because too many windows. And yes, thank you for the suggestion of that external monitor earlier. I normally travel with an iPad and I just forgot it. So there is okay. You click on the icon Comet created that says Perplexity Comet. Now, it may be a little different on your machine, Beth, but on mine, I have two icons. One is for Perplexity and one is for Comet. So if you click the Perplexity icon, it's going to open Perplexity in your default browser, probably. So that's why it's wanting you to download Comet. If you click on the Comet icon, it should open Comet, which is a browser on its own. So it's odd that that would be a Windows related issue. You didn't, okay, so you haven't downloaded Comet yet. You should go ahead and download and install Comet, and you should get a Comet icon in your apps. You did download Comet. I don't know, twice. Ah, my. The icon says Perplexity Comet. Now, the Comet interface, let me hang on a second. Again, so many windows trying to make this work. Let me share the Comet window. All right, so this is the Comet browser. Okay, this is what the Comet icon looks like. Can you see that? And this is what you come to. It is the Perplexity interface. But here you can go to a URL or ask Comet a question or whatever you want. So I can click here and go to hosting.com if I want. And then I can pop out the assistant and start asking. So yeah, Beth, you're looking for this is the Perplexity icon. The Comet icon looks a little different. It's this circular swirly icon. Yeah, it is. I don't believe it's available on Linux. Mr. Anderson, I believe that's what you're on. I don't believe they've made this available yet for Linux. That is weird, Beth. I'm not sure what to tell you there. If anybody who is a Windows user knows how to deal with that, please let Beth know. You could restart. A reboot cures a multitude of sins. So many cases, especially on a Windows machine. All right. Let's move on to the next question. This is from Melanie. Melanie warned us this question has 5 parts. Okay. All right. So Melanie says, I've used managed WordPress hosting for 12 plus years. I'm having all my sites migrated to a managed virtual dedicated server on hosting.com this month. That's great. It's been taking time because it isn't a cPanel to cPanel move. Yeah. They haven't migrated a single site yet, but I have a dev site going live tomorrow. Chemo seems to have removed what I remember about using WHM and cPanel. So when clicking to add a new account, it's asking you to set up a package. I'm fine with settings, but should I add WP Toolkit? Okay. Or in all these features. Okay, so Melanie, I gave a whole, and I know you asked me about this separately, and I wasn't thinking about it in these terms. The live stream I did a few weeks ago about hosting options, I gave an overview of setting up a package and so forth. So let me find, let's see, we're going to go to downloads. .myagencysuccess.com. And that'll take us, okay, so that if you go to downloads.myagencysuccess.com, the very first thing here is the Agency Success Hosting Blueprint. Now, if you go and look at I guess I didn't do a table of contents, but if you scroll down, we'll see which page it's on. Right here. So I walk all the way through this, and I was also on the screen during this live stream if you want to go back and watch it. But I've given a screenshot here of my default feature manager settings that I used, as well as the custom package. So this should give you what you want to do, but let me just hit some quick answers real quick. So yes, you should definitely add WP Toolkit. Don't automatically install WordPress because you're probably adding sites from a template, right? Like a starter site. So you don't want to automatically install a plain vanilla version of WordPress. So don't do that. Blog Vault wants a WP install when migrating. So if you're going to use Blog Vault, then yes, you want WordPress installed. You have a starter site that you usually use. So if it were me, Melanie, I would not turn on auto install WordPress, because after you get these sites migrated, you're probably not going to want to do that anymore, right? You don't want WordPress installed automatically. Or you could turn it on for these new accounts you're creating so that you get a plain vanilla WordPress install, then drop Blog Vault into it, and then turn that automatic install off. That's another good option. Not all of your sites use Cloudflare. Where is the free SSL tool? Okay, so it's called AutoSSL, and that once the DNS is pointed to the site, and this is where it's going to get tricky because you don't have control over the well, you don't have in Cloudflare for your DNS, but AutoSSL. Oh, it's in the cPanel. So in each of the sites, like here's the WP Nathan site, AutoSSL, it's going to give you a bunch of options here. It should automatically create your certificate. If it doesn't, then you can generate a certificate here. But Let's Encrypt should be running on the server automatically. You can verify that with the team that sets it up, but it should be running out of the box. Every time that I've set up a server with hosting.com, it's just been up and running without a problem. And as soon as it gets the DNS, it will create a Let's Encrypt certificate. They don't use Let's Encrypt anymore. You sure about that? Yeah, well, they're using some AutoSSL, whether it's powered by Let's Encrypt or one of the other free certificate providers. Let's just see what WP Nathan is using. Oh, it's running through Cloudflare, which is why we're getting this. I'm not sure which SSL provider they're using, but they're using one of the AutoSSL providers like Let's Encrypt. There's a number of them. There's Komodo, there's others. Okay, is there a setup for Immunify 360? That should be running for you automatically. You shouldn't have to do anything with that at all. What should you do before making a site live tomorrow? I mean, with all these things set up correctly, you should just be able to put the site there, push the DNS to the server, and you're good to go. Yeah, so Melanie, I would suggest, yeah, grab this doc, and that's going to answer a lot of your questions about getting packages set up. Because what that overview is going to let you do is hide most of the icons in cPanel that you don't ever use. You try to migrate the dev site and it won't work. That's going to be an issue that I don't think we can solve on office hours. There's so many factors involved in that. I just have to know a lot more information. I mean, there's probably a logical reason it's not working. Does the domain point to the server already? Or are you doing that with a host file on your computer? That's where we're going to get into a long rabbit trail that I'm afraid is, yeah, I'm afraid this is going to be too extensive of an issue for office hours. But let me hit your last question here. You have a domain you use strictly for development. Do you recommend each dev site have its own cPanel, or do you put all your dev sites under one dev domain on a cPanel? That's what we do. So we have a single dev domain where our starter site lives, and then all the other sites we're working on also live in that cPanel. Now, I realize best practice is every single site should be in its own cPanel for security purposes, but these are sites that aren't they're not indexed, they're not publicly accessible without a password. So I'm fine with having all of our dev domains in a single cPanel. Live sites that are actually getting traffic and index and so forth should be in a separate cPanel. Stacy is asking, so dev domains will be like dev1.development.com. Yes, there'll be a subdomain under our dev domain. Mhm. All right. That was a lot. Hopefully, I think the doc, Melanie, is going to help you out a lot. So I'll just grab this link, drop it in the chat, and you can grab it right from there. Okay. Let's move on to the next question, which is from Doris. Hey, Doris. Oh boy. Cloudflare strangeness. A new website launched a few months ago, installed independent analytics, and it's also running through Cloudflare. Independent analytics shows light traffic as expected for a brand new site, but Cloudflare analytics show nothing, no traffic, no visitors. Everything appears to be connected correctly on Cloudflare. Interesting. That is very interesting. Let me log in quickly here to Cloudflare. Take just a moment. All right. Wrong account. Okay. So, and once again, you all who use Cloudflare have probably realized that they've once again updated the menu with all the things. So here under analytics and logs and HTTP traffic, did you enable HTTP traffic, Doris? I believe that does have to be enabled the first time. And so when you look at this, you're seeing a flat line through of requests. Yeah, so Doris, the first thing I would do is go here under HTTP traffic and make sure that there's not a big enable button there. Because this is showing traffic at the network level, so it is likely more even reliable than certainly more reliable than Google. We had an issue where we were trying to compare Google Analytics traffic to Cloudflare, and Cloudflare's is actually more accurate because it's grabbing the traffic straight through the network. And Google Analytics estimates traffic. Independent Analytics, however, being a WordPress plugin, is yeah, it's pretty accurate too. So you're getting traffic because Independent Analytics is showing it, which means something in Cloudflare is not tracking the traffic, right? So just make sure everything's enabled first. I do believe you have to enable this. Everything's moved around again. Let's take a quick peek at the other domain in this account and just see if now it's tracking traffic as well. Doris, that is odd. If you can share a screenshot, maybe we can see something different. I'm gonna have to just move on to the next question. I don't have an answer for why this wouldn't be tracking traffic. That is quite odd. And if anybody has feedback for Doris, please drop it in the chat. All right, next up in the list is Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth. All right. Elizabeth says, have you had problems with ultimate add-ons for Beaver Builder when using the wrong module? Well, you mentioned the wrong module. When using the Cadence theme. I'm trying to use the UABB testimonials and they're displaying the featured image title, but not the content. And you're saying it's the advanced post module, not displaying the content. Okay. Anyway, they're displaying the featured image title, but not content. I'm using the stacked layout, which lists all three items, but the content does not display. When looking at the testimonials post list, I see the content is entered into a column called custom field. Okay. Elizabeth, is this a custom post type for testimonials? I can't tell if that yes is the answer to the question I just asked. Okay. If it's a custom post type, when you created that custom post type, did you make a custom field for the testimonial or was it using the actual WordPress content? My guess is you created a custom field for the testimonial. And so when you show content, there's nothing there because there's nothing there. Your testimonial is actually uh, you used add a testimonial. Well, it depends on how the testimonial custom post type was set up. Did you build this or was it a plugin? Okay. Okay, let me back up. Are you using the UABB testimonials module or the posts module? I think I'm confused. The Yeah, because if you're using the UABB testimonials module, okay, I am not following. So you have a UABB testimonials module, right? And you added testimonials in that module. Is that right? Okay. You're using the advanced post module, but the content shows up in a menu called testimonials on the left menu. Okay. So that is not UABB doing that. And when you say left menu, you mean the WordPress admin menu over here, right? Something has made a testimonials. Okay. So something has created a custom post type called testimonials, and it's not UABB. It doesn't do that. So you have something that's created that. Now that can either be something you built yourself with something like Pods or MetaBox or ACF, or it could be a testimonials plugin. Do you know which one it is? It work well, yeah. I'm sure it works on the live site, but so the here's the issue. Okay, testimonials is not something that core WordPress includes, right? So something had to add this testimonials menu item. So that's either going to be, it's not UABB that did that. UABB doesn't do it that way. It doesn't add a menu link here in the WordPress admin. It adds testimonials, but in a module. So something has created this testimonials custom post type. And you'll need to figure out what that is. And my guess is because content isn't showing up. Oh, you do have pods on there. So look in pods and see if there's a testimonials custom post type. There probably is. And in that custom post type, you've probably created a custom field for the testimonial. It's not content. So that's why it's not showing up as content in your post module. So what you're going to have to do is find the ID of the custom field where your testimonial lives. And you're going to have to make a custom display that shows that. I can't really demonstrate how to do that here on office hours. That's too big of a question, but that's the direction you're going to have to go. You got it? Okay. So because it's not, let me see, do we have team? Let's see if this has actual content. Yeah, like right here. This is a perfect example. This is using MetaBox, but it's the same principle. So we've got this content area, right? But this is not the post content. This is a custom field called favorite quote. And so when you display this, it has to be showing with, it has to be displayed by the field ID of that custom field. Why would it work on the live site and not the staging site? Now that I don't know. That is a good question. Did you change anything about the testimonials or the field names or the name of the pod or anything like that? That's a good question. I don't know. I do not know. It's been so long since I used pods. There's something in pods in the utilities or tools or something that's like reset the cache. Try resetting the cache. That might make pods remember all these things. All right, so you've got a good direction to go. That is weird. I will give that to you. Okay, next up is Mr. Anderson. All right, Mr. Anderson, any thoughts on the Softly WP all import new elevated extensions LTD? Very little there now, like a promise for the future. I have not even heard of this. So this is from the WP all import team. Hmm. I don't see anything compelling here, personally. You'd have to decide if it's worth it. Yeah, I don't see a compelling reason to purchase this at the moment. All right. Next up is Shanta. Okay, Shanta warned us in the chat that this was going to be a doozy. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go, Shanta. After doing my talk last week at WordCamp Canada, and by the way, congratulations, I needed to share my slides. I used to upload them to SlideShare and then share on all the things, including embedding on my WordPress website. I still use PowerPoint. Me too. Nothing wrong with PowerPoint. I like PowerPoint. And could upload them rather than a PDF and get the analytics from those slide decks and integrated nicely with LI. What is LI? Oh, LinkedIn. Okay, yeah. All right, so I've spent all morning just trying to embed from SlideShare, only to find that my SlideShare block the embed and embed by link, only to find that there's a problem on SlideShare's end, so it won't work. Interesting. I tried the file block, but it looks so wonky. I did try embed press. That was going to be my suggestion, but it also didn't look any better. So I figured the less plugins, the better. And I finally just left the link to the media file with no preview. It looks crappy, but at least people can open the PDF in a new window. Okay, so pausing for a minute. Why don't you export your slide number one into a JPEG and make that the click link that opens up the PDF? Now you can't browse, but people aren't going to browse through your slides in the browser anyway. Like they can just, you know, you got your thumbnail from the first slide, right? Okay, I created two separate posts since there were two workshops and added the link there and shared the links to my website on the things, to organizers, to LinkedIn. Question number one, is there a better way to share the slides or am I on the best track? How searchable are those PDFs going to be? The PDFs live in your media library, Shanta. If Google is indexing your website, they will be indexed as PDFs, and Google will, like, if those PDFs were created from PowerPoint exports, then they'll be generally accessible, meaning the text is readable by human beings and by Google, human beings with assistive devices and by Google. So Google should see the text and index it. Yeah, so pretty indexable. Um, is there a better way to share the slides? I mean, if it was me, I would just put the thumbnail and link it to the PDF. I mean, it's simple, but it works. Is there a benefit to sharing the slides in separate posts rather than adding them to a single one? Yes. Well, let me pausing. What is your goal here? Do you want to get some SEO traction on this? If that's your goal, definitely separate posts and do a recap, write some text on the post, maybe a summary of your talk. I mean, for heaven's sakes, you could take that PDF, Shanta, drop it in your favorite AI tool, and ask ChatGPT to write you a blog post from it or a series of blog posts. It will totally do that. And have it use some keywords that you think people are going to search for, and do multiple posts. And here's your slide. Then you can, when the WordPress TV link comes, you can embed that too. Number three, should I repurpose some of the content, especially the parts of the presentation about the differences of Canada versus US for the rest of the world, or just leave it to the PDF? Definitely repurpose it. Definitely. And the thing is, you've done the hard work already in the PDF. You could literally, here's what I would do. If I were you, I would take that PDF, drop it in a ChatGPT conversation and say, I want to create a series of blog articles around this. What do you suggest? And let it talk to you and just kind of talk to it back and forth until you settle on what this series of blog posts is going to be. And then let it generate, 800 or 1,000 words for each blog post. Shanta says, to be clear, I created most of it in a Word doc from my presentation in an AI and let it create the slides. Good. So put the Word doc in there. Great. And by in there, I mean, drop that into ChatGPT along with your slides. Just put everything in there. The more context you give the AI tool, the better. And then tell it what you want. And if you will come to my live stream in a couple of weeks where we're talking about something that I can't access right now. Come on. There it is. Right here. Oh, it's coming. It's a little while away yet. But this one on November the 18th, I'm going to talk you through the whole process that I use to generate unique and decent content using AI tools for something just like this. What should you start telling the AI? I mean, the preview of this is basically choose a voice. Work with the AI tool to choose a voice that you feel best represents you. And there's a whole process to this, and I'll walk through that on November the 18th. But yeah, just drop the most important thing is drop as much stuff in the beginning of that conversation, or even better, make it a project in ChatGPT. You can add all the files that you have to that. Drop in your doc, your PowerPoint file, your PDF, whatever. If you have the recording of your talks, just drop it in a transcript tool and put the transcript in there. You want to give AI as much stuff as you can, and then say, okay, you've got all this stuff. Now help me write a series of blog posts. No recording yet. That's okay. You still have all the docs and the PDFs. So that's how I would start it. And we'll get into that whole process on November the 18th. Yeah, now over time, as Paul is saying, create blog posts in my voice. Over time, as much as I've used ChatGPT, it actually knows the voice and the tone that I like to write in. And so I've given it so many samples of my stuff that it knows how I should sound. And it gets fairly close. Many of the AIs couldn't process recordings or videos. No, no, no. So you drop it in a transcripting tool of some sort to get the transcript. Although ChatGPT, you can drop an audio file in and it'll transcribe it for you. But there's a few other tools that I use to get AI audio transcripts. No judgment on the site appearance by itself since it's under construction, but at least by doing these workshops, it's given you the drive to start working on it. Good for you. Yeah, good for you. Fun stuff. Sue is asking, how good do you think ChatGPT would work doing a transcript on a longer video? I don't use ChatGPT to transcribe. I use other tools that are custom built for that. Yeah, like I use MeetGeek to record meetings and I upload videos to it and it transcribes them for me. Beth is suggesting Descript. That's one too. Yep. Yeah. I bought a tool on AppSumo a while back called Uniscribe. That's a really good AI transcriber. All right. Well, good luck with that, Shanta. Let us make sure you show us a link when you get that all set up and finished. Maybe you'll be done by next week, right? Send us a link. All righty. Next up is Melanie. All right, Melanie has a follow-up, except it won't paste. Hang on a second. All right, tied to the earlier question, in managed WP hosting, when launching a site, I would just change the primary domain of the client's domain, which would scrub the DB. I haven't had to migrate a site to live in years. I use a host file to test everything before changing DNS. I've noticed more and more, and particularly with migrating sites, that I battle SSL not being there. Yeah. Or totally blocking the site or constantly logging you out. Yeah. That is a challenge. Now, with SSL not being there, you're going to get, like if you're in Chrome, for example, you're going to get that warning, hey, something's not right here. This is not whatever. But you can go into the advanced settings and say, ignore this. And that's just what you're going to have to do because there isn't an SSL certificate. And that's just the way it is. Nor can you even generate one because the DNS isn't pointed there yet. So when we have to do a host file like this, you just have to ignore those SSL errors and tell it, whatever the wording is, go ahead and proceed. Ignore this error. Advance wouldn't let you ignore today. Really? Did you clear all of the DNS? That may be, I mean, even like in going into Mac terminal and clearing out the operating system DNS. Um, and the Chrome DNS. If Safari let you and Chrome didn't, it's probably a Chrome issue. So something you might try also is like click on the profile icon here and go into a guest profile. That's just as clean as you can get of a Chrome browser, and that might let you do it. It's probably jammed up in Chrome somewhere. But honestly, for these sorts of things, I use Firefox. So I have Firefox set that every time it starts up or closes down, it clears the cache, wipes all the stuff. So it is a known good, clean browser. I don't use Firefox for anything else. So that when I open, like, if I have one of these issues, I just open Firefox and do it there. But a Chrome guest profile could be similar. Yeah. So because Safari worked and Chrome didn't, it's probably something is in Chrome that remembers that the site was here and now it's not, and there's a problem, and it's trying to protect you. Um, Yeah, I would just use a different browser. When we get into these weird DNS things like this and host files, sometimes you just have to use a different browser. Okay. DNS problems. All right, next up is Chris. All right, Chris. I moved a site to rocket.net about 4 or 5 months ago. The selling point for me was that it was supposed to be plug and play for optimization and speed. Not really the case, but that's okay. Okay. The problem I am right now is we have Google Ads running for this site. We would like to use enhanced conversions, but that is a Cloudflare setting. Enhanced convert. When I talk to rocket.net, I'm told I have no access to any of the Cloudflare settings, which is what needs to be changed for enhanced conversions. And most importantly, the rocket.net Cloudflare system is not compatible with enhanced conversions. Interesting. I have not heard of this. And that's, my experience with rocket.net is brand new. And so I've not run across this issue before, Chris. But if their tech team, which is excellent, is telling you that it's not compatible, then it's not compatible. And that is, yeah, I'm not sure what rocket.net is using Cloudflare Enterprise under their umbrella, like it's baked into their hosting platform. And so there are certain settings that just aren't available. Yeah, Stacy's saying the same as with WP Engine. So if you go back to that live stream I did some time ago, a few weeks ago, about the hosting blueprint, when I mapped out the comparisons of rocket.net versus your own host, rocket.net is fantastic and it's a great value, to be honest, for all the stuff you get. But trading out that packaged, managed, zero worries hosting solution means you give up customization. It's just the nature of the beast. And so if you want enhanced conversions, you may have to move to, another kind of a server with hosting.com. Yeah. So there's clearly something about enhanced conversions that is a problem for rocket.net. And I don't know the details there. All right. Yeah, and others are reporting same types of issues with other managed hosts. And that's really the thing. Like managed hosts want to provide a simplified hosting experience where you just don't have to worry about anything, right? And that's great. And there's great value in that. But you sacrifice customization. Yeah. In order to provide that, zero hassle solution, it has to be, there has to be some uniformity across the board. All right, we are down to the final question of the day, and that is from Sue. Hey, Sue. All righty. If a client hired their own blog post writer who then put all the posts on the dev site after the site launched. Oh, okay. On the dev site after the site launch and didn't figure it out until weeks later, what might you say to the client so it doesn't make their blog poster look bad? Oh, um, what could you say? I can think of a lot of things you could say. And it's not the one I'm thinking of, Sue. Okay, that's good. Um, okay, so look, here's the thing. Does the blog writer work for you, Sue? Okay. You work for the client, and the blog post writer works for the client, right? Your responsibility is to the client, not the blog post person. You didn't make this mistake. They made the mistake. Now, my question would be, how come the dev site's still around after the site launched? Like, that's a process issue. As part of launching a website, the dev site should be removed so that you know if something's broken. You know, like if the process of migration, some of the stuff's still pointing back to the dev site, you know, and then one day you wipe away the dev site, then stuff disappears. Um, you should really kill the dev site at launch, or at least, you know, if you're going to leave the site there, which I don't recommend, at least turn off the DNS or something that links to that subdomain or whatever. Anyway, so um, yeah, we kill the dev side as one of the final stages of our launch process, and that's what I recommend for this kind of reason. But the deal is the person added the blog post to the wrong website, and that's not your fault. It's their fault. They should have known better. Yeah, it's a mistake. Like it would be an easy mistake to make because it looks the same except for the URL and whatever. But you know, it's not up to you to be the apologist for this blog post writer who made the mistake. You know, it could happen. And it's honestly not that big of a deal. You could export them and import them. Yeah. So it's all done. Yeah, I mean, it happens. Actually, it does. I've never heard of this before, but it could happen. It could happen. Yeah. I don't know. I know you're trying to be nice here, Sue, but they made the mistake. All right. That wraps us up, folks, and it is just right at 2 p.m. Central Time. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you don't do any work and you get to do something fun. And next week, we will be back for, let's see, what's happening next week? Demystifying DNS is on Tuesdays. That's going to be a lot of fun. Join me there. We'll unpack all this DNS stuff and try not to bring down Amazon. How about that? That'll be fun. All right. Well, have a great weekend. I will see you back here Tuesday for Demystifying DNS here on agencysuccessfromhosting.com, where we go further together.